Hello, I made it. How are you? So, we're going to get back into the Labors of Hercules and Astrological Interpretation. And we're digging into Hercules' first labor tonight. So, let's do it to it. Oh, son of a gun. I forgot. I need to pull the microphone out. No worries. We'll get there. Okay. Ah, there we go. That's better. Okay, so yeah, the very first labor of Hercules. Off we go now. Get that hair back. Okay, labor 1. The capture of the man-eating mares. Aries, March 21st to April 20th. The myth. The first great gate stood open wide. A voice came through that portal. Hercules, my son, go forth. Pass through the gate and enter on the way. Perform thy labor and return to me, reporting on the deed. With shouts of triumph, Hercules rushed forth, running between the pillars of the gate with overweening confidence and surety of power. And thus the labor started, and the first great act of service was begun. The story that they tell carries instruction for the sons of men, who are the sons of God. The son of Mars, Diomedes of fiery fame, ruled in the land beyond the gate, and there he raised the horses and the mares of war upon the marshes of his land. Wild were these horses, and fierce the mares, and all men trembled at their sound, for they ravaged up and down the land, wreaking great damage, killing all the sons of men who crossed their path, and breeding steadily most wild and evil horses. Capture these mares and stop these evil deeds, was the command which fell upon the ears of Hercules. Go, rescue this far land and those who live upon it. Abderus, cried Hercules, come forth and aid me with this task. Calling the friend he greatly loved and who ever followed in his steps as he went from place to place. Then Abderus came forth and took his stand beside his friend, and with him faced the task. Laying all plans with care, these two followed the horses as they ranged the meadow and the marches of that land. Finally, he cornered these wild mares within a field wherein there was no further place to move, and there he caught and tethered them. He yelled with joy at the success achieved. So great was his delight in the prowess thus displayed at that he deemed it neath his dignity to hold the mares or drive them on the way to Diomedes. He called his friend, saying, Abderus, come hither and drive these horses through the gate. And then he turned his back and pridefully marched forward. But Abderus was weak and feared the task. He could not hold the mares, or harness them, or drive them through the gate in the footsteps of his friend. They turned on him. They rent and trod him under foot. They killed him and escaped into the wilder lands of Diomedes. Wiser, grief stricken, humble, and discouraged, Hercules returned unto his task. He sought the mares again from place to place, leaving his friend dying upon the ground. Again he caught the horses and drove them through the gate himself, but Abderus lay dead. It could be Abderus. The teacher looked him o'er with care and sent the horses to the place of peace, there to be tamed and broken to their tasks. The people of that land, released from fear, welcomed the deliverer, acclaiming Hercules as savior of the land, but Abderus lay dead. The teacher turned to Hercules and said, Labor the first is ended. The task is done, but badly done. Learn the true lesson of this task, and then pass on to further service to your fellow men. Go forth into the country, guarded by the second gate, and find and take the sacred bull into the holy place. The Tibetan. Hey, Emoji King, welcome, man. Welcome all. Let me get a sip of water here. Abderus. When my sister and I were growing up, we were obsessed with Xena, and she loved Hercules too. And Hercules' sidekick was Aeolus. And so when I first read that, I was like, oh, weird. Well, maybe that's why they didn't name Aeolus Abderus. Okay, so the meaning of the myth. In combining this astrological and symbolic story with the everyday life and tests of modern discipleship, we shall tell the story of the task which Hercules undertook, and the test to which King Eurystheus subjected him. Eurystheus. And then we shall study the significance of the sign in which it took place, for there is a close link between the two. And the labor only became possible because of the characteristics conferred upon Hercules in that particular sign. Each sign subjects the man who is working in it to the influence of certain distinctive forces and provides him with certain tendencies. These we must understand if the meaning of the test is to emerge. That makes sense. Connected with each sign of the zodiac will be found 3 other constellations, which symbolically, and often in a most amazing fashion, embody the disciple's problem and indicate the solution. Interesting. So what? Earth, fire, air, water. These we shall have to consider for the labor, the sign, and the allied constellations, with the forces let loose through their combination, constitute a complete story which is full of instructive elements. I would like to point out, for the sake of clarity, therefore, that the constellations symbolize the threefold spirit aspect, that the sign gives us the field of activity of the soul, and that the labor portrays the work of the disciple. Living on the physical plane and endeavoring to demonstrate on a battlefield of the world his innate divinity and latent powers. In these 3, we have spirit, soul, and body summarized. Life, consciousness, and form meet in Hercules, the personal self who, acting under the influence of the soul, the indwelling Christ, carries out the purposes of the Spirit, the Father in heaven. We shall next consider the relationship of sign and constellations, and close each chapter with a definite application of the story of the test to the life of a disciple and to that of humanity as a whole. In studying the 12 labors, we follow the career of Hercules as he passes around the zodiac from the sign Aries, which is the sign of commencement, through Taurus, Gemini, etc., anti-clockwise to Pisces, the sign of death and of consummation. This will be in the reverse manner to that of the apparent path of the sun, clockwise, which is begun in Aries and appears then to retrograde through the signs, passing into Pisces and then to Aquarius, and so on through all the intervening signs, back again to Aries. The man who is immersed in form and is living under the influence of the matter aspect follows necessarily the path of illusion and of appearances. But Hercules, the soul, follows the true way, reverses the usual procedure, and, figuratively speaking, goes against the tide. Hercules, the awakened soul, is realizing the day of opportunity. He has received his instructions to undertake the 12 labors and demonstrate his capacities, and has been promised that if he fulfills the requirements, he will be translated into the kingdom of the gods. He has been equipped with all divine powers, though, as yet, he does not know how to use them. And he has hewn out for himself the club of his own endeavor, and with these, he symbolically mounts the cross, the fixed cross of the heavens, upon which he remains in spirit until the last labor has been accomplished. Thus he sets out on his first labor, little realizing the magnitude of his task, and unprepared for failure. The delightful part of the story of Hercules is his impulsiveness and the fact that he was not always successful. He failed sometimes and had to redo the labor until success followed on his efforts. He is told that Diomedes, the son of Mars, the god of war, possesses a large number of broodmares. These were running wild, devastating the countryside, doing much damage and subsisting on the flesh of human beings. No one was safe from them, and terror had settled down on the neighborhood. Besides this, these broodmares were breeding great numbers of war horses, and Diomedes was very concerned with the outcome of the situation. Eurystheus, Eurys, Eurys, Eurystheus, the king, ordered Hercules to capture them. Many attempts had been made to do so, but always the mares had escaped after killing the horse and men sent against them. Wait, whoa. Many attempts had been made to do so, but always the mare had escaped after killing the horses and men sent against them. But Hercules, having caught the horses, gave them to Abderus to hold, whilst he strutted on ahead, not realizing the strength of the horses nor their savagery. Before he could take steps to prevent it, the mares turned on Abderus and trampled him to death, and again escaped and started anew to ravage the countryside. So he had to start his labor all over again, and after strenuous efforts, he again succeeded in capturing the mares. His first labor, therefore, starts with a partial failure, as is so often the case with the inexperienced and impetuous aspirant. Such is the story, brief, dramatic, and encouraging. What of the sign in which it was undertaken? The sign. The sign Aries. Hey, Jackie! Good to see you. The sign Aries, which was the field of this first activity, is always spoken of as the first sign of the zodiac. At this sign, the great wheel begins its cyclic turning. It is, therefore, the sign of commencement. Cosmically speaking, it is the sign of creation. And this thought underlies the words in the Bible, the lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Revelations 8:8. For this sign is called the sign of the ram or of the lamb. In the life of the human being, it marks the beginning of the first subjective, latent consciousness of existence and the start of the human being upon the circle of experience. In the life of the aspirant to discipleship, it connotes the period of reorientation and of a renewed self-conscious effort, and his start upon that final stage of the evolutionary path, which will carry him out of the human kingdom and enable him to make the transition into the kingdom of the gods. Such is the promise made to Hercules, and such is the reward held out to all disciples. This first labor marks the first step upon the path of translation. Path of translation is in quotations. Aries is a sign of outgoing power, of the streaming forth of divine energy from the central deity, God, or from the human being, a son of God. This energy streams forth in two directions. Thus, the point becomes the line, the one becomes the first. It streams forth into the world of forms and also into the world of being or of spirit. One stream of energy expresses the path of return, of inward going, and the two together constitute the two arcs of the great circle of existence. In this sign starts the path on which form is taken and dominates. On it, likewise, begins the life of inner unfoldment and the domination of the soul, or the subjective being. Reorganization, reorientation, repolarizing, and regeneration are the characteristics of this stage, and all of them are expressions of the same life force. These two uses of this life force are dependent upon the mental attention of the being, divine and human, who is utilizing it. It is the same force, but used in two different ways, dependent upon whether the divine user has focused his attention upon form taking or upon treading the path of liberation from form. Interesting. For aeons, this life force has been applied to selfish ends, to the purposes of self-gratification, and to the satisfaction of desire. Little by little, form life loses its attraction until, having passed around and around the zodiacal wheel, the man finds himself back again in Aries, only this time with a new focus, a fresh interest, and a different vision. He has had he has had held before him he has had held before him the promise that, having achieved certain objectives, he may cease from incarnating and attain the kingdom of gods. He has learned from experience something of his own essential duality and yearns to cease from satisfying the lower aspect of that duality and to meet the need of the higher. And he is beginning to respond to impulses coming from the world of souls and to vision group ends and group objectives. Cool. Okay, wait. And he is beginning to respond to impulses coming from the world of souls and to vision group ends and group objectives. Now he has to learn to use the life force with unselfish intent and not for the satisfaction of his personal greeds. The free the three initial impulses in Aries. Three outstanding urges characterize this sign. There is, as we have seen, the urge to begin. This may express itself simply as the urge to take form, to become involved in matter, or it may reverse the process and focus itself in the urge to achieve liberation from form and the emergence of the soul from the prison of the form nature. This uh, then this then this urge is followed by the consequent urge to create, the activity of the deity which results in the formation of worlds of expression and satisfies his desire to incarnate in a solar system and to begin the great life cycle of the universe. It may be likewise the urge to individual creation, of the soul to take a body, or of a human being to create something which shall be specially his own. In ancient Akkadian days, this sign Aries was called that wherein the sacrifice of righteousness was made, or the sign of the fallen angels. The sons of God, impelled by his basic urge, fell from their high estate, took form, and started upon their individual round of the zodiac. I'm on the cusp of Aries and Taurus, so I mean, yeah. Action and doing things right. All right. Thirdly, we find the urge to resurrection. In Aries, which has seen the beginning of form life and which has initiated the creative work, there begins to be felt the urge to achieve freedom from the form, to roll away the stone from the door of the sepulture of the soul, and to stand in the liberty of the sons of God. In Aries is found the impulse which leads to the building of the form, which for ages will constitute the prison house of the soul. This reaches its mass form in Cancer and its human form in Leo. The densest point of illusion in form is reached in Scorpio. And in Pisces, the form dies, only to be rebuilt again in the weaving round of form experience. But in this sign, the way of liberation is first sensed, and the building of the spiritual body is begun. This is the sign of germinal spiritual activity, which later leads to the birth of the Christ child in Virgo, to that of the world savior in Capricorn and in Pisces. Physical commencement and spiritual commencement, physical creation and spiritual creation, physical emergence and spiritual liberation, these are the initial impulses sensed in Aries. So there's a word up here that I have to look up. Sculpt something or other, or where is it? Ba-dum-ba-dum-bum-bum. Sepulture. Sepulchre. Sepulture. Sepulture? Okay. And then I'm on the last, I need to start on the last paragraph here. And this is on the 5th line. Okay. Sepulchre. Sepulture. Oh, I think I closed out of all that. Let me just open a new tab. Sepulture. Definition: a small room or monument cut in rock or built of stone in which a dead person is laid or buried. Okay, cool.
Sepulcher. Sepulcher.
Sepulcher. Cool. Okay, sepulcher. Sepulcher. A small room or monument cut in rock or built of stone in which a dead person is laid or buried. Sepulcher.
Sepulcher.
Okay, back to YouTube's. Awesome. I like it. Sepulcher. In Aries, okay, so actually, I'm just going to read that sentence again now that I know what sepulcher means and how to say it. In Aries, which has seen the beginning of life form and which has initiated the creative work, there begins to be felt the urge to achieve freedom from the form, to roll away the stone from the door of the sepulcher of the soul, and to stand in the liberty of the sons of God. Bam, dude, that's a really good sentence. There's every sentence is so weighty. I like that. All right. I have a hair that's tickling me. Where is it? Okay, there it is. So back to more about Aries. Okay. It is the sign, therefore, of strong and potent impulses and of violent fluctuations and exaggerated efforts. It's so funny to me. It is the sign, therefore, of strong and potent impulses and of violent fluctuations and exaggerated efforts, often a sign of failure, but always of ultimate successes. In its opposite sign, Libra, it teaches its consummation of balance and of equilibrium. For the intervening experience and the lessons learned from the intermediate 5 labors bring about that poise and balanced attitude which we shall note in Hercules when he captures the boar in Libra. Cool. In the Brahmanical zodiac, Vishnu presides over Aries, and Vishnu is the second person of the Hindu Trimurti, or the cosmic Christ in incarnation, as he initiates the process of form taking and ultimately brings about the final episode of resurrection. Thus, Vishnu, or Christ, embodies the 2 urges, the urge to create and build form and the urge to liberation, or resurrection out of form. It is under this urge to liberation that Hercules starts upon his labors. I had a really powerful meditation with with Vishnu, and I think about it every day. It was really something. Anyhow, interesting that it's connected with Aries. The sign of the mind. Aries governs the head. It is consequently the sign of the thinker and therefore a powerful mental sign. All beginnings originate on the mental plane and in the mind of the creator, whether the creator is God or the soul of man. This universe had its origin in the thought of God, the cosmic thinker. The soul started its career in matter through the same process of thought. The human family, the 4th kingdom of nature, came into being when mind emerged and differentiated man from the animals. The aspirant begins his labors when he truly becomes the thinker. and in full awareness proceeds to function as the arbiter of his own destiny. It is apparent, consequently, that in Aries, right direction and right orientation have their beginning, and Hercules, the newly thinking disciple, begins his work. The key to this labor and to the significance of the sign is to be found in the words of an ancient Indian scripture. Quote, "Man does not rightly know the way to the heavenly world, but the horse does rightly know it." End quote. In the very ancient days of India, the horse sacrifice was linked with the sun god, and yearly, we are told, the sun god, as the zodiacal horse, was supposed by the Vedic Aryans to die and save all flesh, and was supposed by the Vedic, is it Vedic or Vedic? Aryans to die to save all flesh. The sun chariot of Apollo is depicted as drawn by horses, and the princely sign of the ram is closely connected with the horse symbology, a fact to which this first labor bears witness. Reference to books on symbology will show us that the horse stands for intellectual activity. The white horse symbolizes the illuminated mind of the spiritual man. And so we find in the book of Revelations that Christ comes forth riding upon a white horse. Black horses represent the lower mind with its false ideas and erring human concepts. The brood mares, such as we meet in this first labor, indicate the feminine aspect of the mind as it gives birth to ideas, to theories, and to concepts. I have a tickle there. The thought form making tendency of the mind is here symbolized, embodying the ideas conceived and which are let loose upon the world, devastating and destroying when emanating from the lower mind, but constructing and saving when coming from the soul. The exoteric ruler of the sign is Mars, EXO, EXOTERIC. The exoteric ruler of this sign is Mars, the god of war. And so Hercules, acting under the right direction of thought and beginning his work on the mental plane, takes his stand as the warrior. His outstanding characteristic in this sign is the pioneering militant spirit. The mares were in the possession of Diomedes, the son of Mars, but the esoteric ruler is Mercury, which illuminates the mind and mediates between the soul and the personality. Yeah, the communicator. Okay, constellations in Aries. As is usual, there are 3 constellations connected with Aries. First, there is Cassiopeia, the enthroned queen, the symbol always of matter. It is most interesting to note how in the circle of the zodiac we come across 3 women. In connection with Aries, the sign of commencement, we find Cassiopeia, the dominant woman, woman and child, and as we shall later see, mother matter is the nurturer of the infant Christ. The Virgin Mary gives birth to Jesus. In Pisces, at the close of the great round, we find Andromeda, the chained woman. First the woman enthroned and dominant, then the woman caring for the infant Christ, and then the woman representing matter that has been dominated and controlled. Cassiopeia will be found seated on the Arctic Circle, close to Cepheus the king, or lawgiver, whom we shall meet later as one of the 3 constellations in Pisces. At the commencement, law, at the close, At the commencement, law, at the close, law, for Cepheus has a close relation with the first and the last sign of the zodiac. It is interesting to note that Mahomet, the founder of the most militant religion, was born in this sign. And legend says that Moses also was born in it. Moses, the lawgiver, and Mahomet, the warrior. Cepheus. 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 It just reminds me of brains, like a lot of words that what is it? Is that Latin? That terms that they use to for the anatomy of the brain? Okay. The problem of Hercules, as he enters upon his labors, is to demonstrate his power over matter and form. And so he has to recognize Cassiopeia from the very beginning, the hitherto enthroned queen. The second constellation is Cetus, the sea monster, the enemy of little fishes. One of the great symbols of the soul is the fish swimming on the ocean of matter, and Cetus, the sea monster, is the symbol of what we call evil that seeks to destroy the soul in incarnation. The sea monster, in the ocean of existence, and the enthroned queen, spoke to Hercules of the magnitude of his problem, but the third constellation spoke to him in the zodiac of Dendera in Egypt, the one who subdues, sometimes called the breaker, that which can chain the enthroned woman, and that which can conquer the monster. We are told that Perseus possessed the helmet of invisibility, the sandals of swiftness, the buckler of wisdom, and the sword of spirit. Thus Hercules saw himself reflected in the heavens. And as he started upon the capture of the man-eating mares, he discovered in himself the guarantee of his ultimate achievement, even though at the time the difficulties with which he was faced seemed unsurpassable. The crux of the test. The conquest of matter and the overcoming of illusion loomed large before Hercules and indicated from the very outset of the 12 labors the nature of his final achievement. It has been said that the keynote of the Aries is hope, and as he faced his 12 labors, hope was all the guarantee that Hercules then had and he would achieve. Hope is untried divine equipment, his personal club, and much enthusiasm. So start all disciples. Interesting. Plus, I mean, a club, a staff, wood. It's druidic, right? Okay. The meaning of the test is now surely plain. Hercules had to begin in the world of thought to gain mental control. For ages, the broodmares of thought had been breeding war horses, and through wrong thought, wrong speech, and erroneous ideas, had been devastating the countryside. One of the first lessons that every beginner has to learn as the tremendous power One of the first lessons that every beginner has to learn is the tremendous power that he mentally wields and the amount of harm that he can cause in his neighborhood and environment through the broodmares of his mind. He has, therefore, to learn the right use of his mind, and the first thing that he has to do is capture his feminine aspect of the mind and see to it that no more war horses are bred. Any would-be Hercules can easily prove that he possesses these devastating broodmares if for one entire day he pays close attention to his thoughts and to the words he speaks, which are ever the result of. He will rapidly discover that selfishness, unkindness, love of gossip, and criticism constitute a large part of his thought content, and that the broodmares of his mind are constantly being fertilized by selfishness and illusion. Instead of these broodmares giving birth to ideas and concepts which have their origin in the kingdom of the soul, and instead of being fertilized from the spiritual realm, they become the parents of error, false, which have their origin in the lower aspects of man's nature. Broodmares, broody. Hey, Code! Yay! Welcome in! Oh my gosh. Yeah, totally, dude. Hercules realized the harm that the broodmares were doing. He rushed gallantly to the rescue of his neighborhood. He determined to capture the broodmares, but he overestimated himself. He did succeed in routing them up and in capturing them, but he failed to realize their potency and strength, so he gave them to Abderus, the symbol of the lower personal self, to hold. But Hercules, the soul, and Abderus, the personality, in unison, were needed to guard these devastating horses. Abderus alone was not strong enough, and what had been happening to the people in the neighborhood happened to Abderus. They killed him. This is an instance of the working of the great law that we pay the price in our own natures of wrongly spoken words and ill-judged actions. Again, the soul, in the person of Hercules, had to deal with the problem of wrong thought. And only when he becomes a one-pointed aspirant in the sign Sagittarius, and in that sign kills the man-eating birds, does he really attain complete control of the thought processes of his nature. The practical significance of the power of thought has been well expressed for us in the words of Thackeray. Quote, sow a thought and reap an action, sow an action and reap a habit, sow a habit and reap character, sow character and reap destiny. Boom. Yeah, dude. The two key words of the sign Aries are 1, and the word said, let form again be sought, the man. 2, I come forth, and from the plane of mind, I rule, the initiate. Bam, dude. Dude. All right. Labor 2. Here we go. The capture of the Cretan bull. This is my sign. I'm so pumped, man. I mean, I was pumped about Aries too, because I'm a cusper, right? Taurus, April 21st to May 20th. The myth. The presiding one spoke to the teacher of the man whose light shone forth among the sons of men, who are the sons of God. Where is the man who stood with power before the gods, receiving their gifts, and entered through the first wide open gate to labor at his task? He rests, O great presiding one, and ponders on his failure, and mourns for Abderus, and seeks for help within himself. It is well. The gifts of failure guarantee success, then rightly understood. Oh, let's try again. The gifts of failure guarantee success when rightly understood. Let him process to labor once again. Enter the second gate, returning with dispatch. The second gate stood wide, and from the light which veiled the distant scene, a voice emerged and said, pass through the gate, proceed upon thy way, perform thy labor, and return to me, reporting on the deed. Alone and sad, conscious of need, and worn with deep distress, Hercules slowly passed between the pillars of the gate into the light which shines where stands the sacred bull. On the horizon rose the island fair where dwelt the bull, and where adventurous men could enter that vast maze which lured them to bewilderment, the maze of Minos. Minos? Minos. The maze of Minos, king of Crete. the keeper of the bull. Minos. Crossing the ocean to the sunlit isle, though how we are not told, Hercules entered on his task to seek and find the bull, and lead it to the holy place where dwell the one-eyed men. From place to place he chased the bull, led by the gleaming star which shone upon the forehead of the bull, a bright lamp in a dark place. This light, moving as moved the bull, led him from place to place. Alone he sought the bull, alone he chased it to its lair, alone he captured it and mounted on its back. Around him stood the sisters seven, urging him on his way, and in the shining light he rode the bull across the glimmering water to the Isle of Crete, unto the land where dwelt the Cyclops three. These three great sons of God, these three great sons of God awaited his return, watching his progress through the waves. He rode the bull as if it were a horse, and with the sisters singing as it went, drew near unto the land. He comes with strength, said Brontes, and went to meet him on the shore. He rides in light, said Serapes. His inner light will brighter be, than fan the light to sudden flame. He comes with speed, said Argus. He is riding through the waves. Hercules nearer drew, urging the sacred bull upon the way, throwing the light upon the trail which led from Crete unto the temple of the Lord, within the city of the one-eyed men. Upon the mainland, at the water's edge, these three men stood and grasped the bull, taking it thus away from Hercules. What hast thou here? Said Brontes, arresting Hercules upon the way. The sacred bull, O holy one. Who art thou? Tell us now thy name, said Sterapes. I am the son of Hera, a son of man, and yet a son of God. I have performed my task. Take now the bull into the holy place and save it from due death. Minos desired its sacrifice. Who told you thus to seek and save the bull? Said Argus, moving towards the holy place. Within myself I felt the urge and sought my teacher. Told by the great presiding one, he sent me on the way, and with long search and many pains I found the bull. Helped by its holy light, I rode it through the separating sea unto this holy place. Depart in peace, my son, your task is done. The teacher saw him coming and went forth to meet him on the way. Across the waters came the voices of the sisters seven, singing around the bull, and nearer still, the chanting of the one-eyed men within the temple of the Lord, high in the holy place. You come with empty hands, O Hercules, the teacher said. I have these empty hands because I have fulfilled the task to which I was assigned. The sacred bull is rescued, securely with the three. What next? Within the light shall you see light. Walk in that light, and there see light. Your light must brighter shine. The bull is in the holy place. And Hercules reposed upon the grass and rested from his labor. Later, the teacher turned to Hercules and said, Labor the second is performed, and easy was the task. Learn from this task the lesson of proportion. Strength to perform the arduous task, the willingness to do the task which taxes not your powers. Such are two lessons learnt. Rise soon and seek the country, guarded by gate the third, and find the golden apples. Bring them here. The Tibetan. Hey, Kimba, welcome in. Welcome all. If anybody I have missed or any, sometimes not all the comments come through. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to pause this for a second and cough a little bit. Mute. Okay. The meaning of the labor. In spite of initial partial failure, Hercules has made his start. In line with the universal law, he has begun his work on the mental plane. In the working out of the creative plan, thought impulse is followed by desire. That state of consciousness, which we call mental, is succeeded by the state of sensitivity, and this second labor deals with the desire world and with the potency of desire. It is one of the most interesting labors, and one that is told and one that is told us in fullest detail. Some of the accounts given of the various tests to which Hercules was subjected are exceedingly sketchy and brief in outline. But the tests in Taurus and Gemini, in Scorpio and Pisces, are related at greater length. They were drastic in their application and tried out every part of the aspirant's nature. The key to the labor in Taurus is the right understanding of the law of attraction. This is the law that governs the magnetic force and the principle of coherence, which builds the forms through which God or the soul manifests. It produces the stability which demonstrates in the persistence of the form throughout its cycle of existence and concerns the interrelation between that which builds the form and the form itself, between the two poles, positive and negative, between spirit and matter, between the self and the not self, between male and female, and thus between the opposites. 4 symbolic words. We find this test concerns predominantly the problem of sex. There are 4 words in the English language which are ideographic and symbolic. They consist of 3 letters. They consist of 3 letters each and are as follows: God, sex, law, and sin. In these 4 words, we find expressed the sum total of all that is. Wow, what a statement! God, sex, law, and sin. God, the sum total of all forms, the sum total of all states of consciousness, and the energizing life. Sex, that life in operation, attracting spirit and matter, and instituting the interplay between the objective and the subjective, and between the esoteric and the exoteric. Oh, of course. Eso, inner outer. Okay. Sex, desire, attraction, the instinctive urge to creation, the pull of the soul, the urge to divinity, desire of the male for the female, the lure of matter for spirit. All these phases can be piled up to express some of the activities of sex in its various relations. Law, the thought-impelled response of God to form, the habits instituted by the timeless interplay between the polar opposites, which have been recognized by humanity as the inevitable laws of nature, the imposition of will of God and the imposition of the will of God and the impress of that will upon form and its recognition by man. Sin, according to its connotation, signifies the one who it is. Sin, according to its connotation, signifies the one who it is. The uprising of the unit against the whole, individuality versus the group, selfishness instead of universal interest. Thus is the story of the universe written for us in these 4 words: God, the whole; sex, the attraction between the parts within that whole; law, the habit of the whole; and sin, the revolt of the unit of the whole. Dude! Thank you, Alice Bailey. Chrissy! Yay! Welcome, welcome. The story of the labor. Minos, king of Crete, possessed a sacred bull, which he kept on the island of Crete. Eurystheus sent for Hercules and told him that it was necessary to capture the bull and bring it from the island to the mainland. No instructions were given as to how this was to be accomplished, and all that Hercules knew was that the bull was scared, and it was born from the sea, and that its destiny was to be offered in sacrifice to Minos. Hercules, therefore, traveled to Crete and searched all over the island, pursuing the bull from place to place until at last he cornered it. Then, we are told, he rode the bull, like a horse, across the island and through the waters which separated Crete from the main land, and so brought it into the city of the Cyclops. These Cyclops were peculiar beings of whom it was claimed that they possessed only one eye, set in the middle of its forehead. They were ruled over by three outstanding figures, whose names were Brontes, meaning thunder, Steropus, meaning lightning, and Argus, meaning a whirling activity. When Hercules arrived with the bull at the gates of the city, he was met by the three Cyclops, who received the sacred bull from him and took charge of it. And thus ended the second labor. The theme of illumination. Taurus is one of the most interesting of the zodiacal constellations, especially at this time. It is the fixed cross in the heavens, the cross of the disciple, and the following extract of its interest in the connection. Quote, the sky is mystically spoken of as the temple and the eternal consciousness of God. Its altar is the sun, whose four arms or rays typify the four corners of the cardinal cross of the universe, which have become the four fixed signs of the zodiac. And as the four powerful sacred animal signs are both cosmical and spiritual, they represent the basic elements resembling our human principles. The sign Leo represents fire or spirit, Taurus, earth or body, Aquarius, air or mind, and the Scorpio represents water likened to the soul. Leo, as the lion, is the strength of the lower nature and is the serpent of force which, if directed upward, overcomes. Taurus, the bull, is always the symbol of creative force. Aquarius, the man, is the light bearer or light bringer. Scorpio, the scorpion, is often transmuted with Aquila, the eagle, which rises at the same time with Scorpio. They are closely linked in symbolism. Scorpio is the monster of darkness who stings to death and yet preserves and reproduces, symbolizing not only generation but regeneration. As the latter, it is Aquila, the eagle, the bird of the sun, which has conquered the dark side of Scorpio, that adversary that can drag man down lower than the beasts. But when transmuted, is the eagle of light, which can exalt above the gods. That's an excerpt taken from The Celestial Ship of the North, Volume 1, E.V. Straiton. 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 Ooh, right? The cross, the fixed cross. Man, it seems really cool that we're all in here and that's what we are. It's so cool. Okay. The Eye of the Bull in Taurus, the magnificent fixed star, Aldebaran, is one of the reasons why this constellation is regarded as conferring illumination. In ancient days, it was called the leading star of the heavens, and Taurus has always been connected with light and therefore with Christ, who proclaimed himself as the light of the world. Light, illumination, and sound as an expression of the creative force. These are the three basic ideas connected with this constellation. The interpreter of the divine voice, as Taurus was called in ancient Egypt, can be paraphrased into Christian terminology and called the Word made flesh. It is an interesting sidelight on the power of the zodiacal influences to recall that the bull's eye lantern can be traced back to the bull's eye in Taurus. And the pontifical bull, or the papal annunciations, which were regarded as interpreters of God's voice, is a term in common usage today. It might be, let's try. It might well be asked here, in what way does Taurus, the bull, become the bringer of illumination? We are told that in this sign, the moon is exalted and Venus is the ruler. The moon has always, from the standpoint of the esotericist and among primitive agricultural peoples, been regarded as the form-building aspect. The moon is the symbol, therefore, the matter, and is seen in many of our churches, closely connected with the Virgin Mary. The consummation of the work that is undertaken in Taurus and the result of the Taurian influence is the glorification of matter and subsequent illumination through its medium. All that at present prevents the glory, which is the soul, and the radiance which emanates from the God within the form, from shining forth in its full power, is the matter or form aspect. When that has been consecrated, purified, and spiritualized, then the glory and the light can indeed shine through, and the moon aspect can therefore be exalted in Taurus. This is done through the influence of Venus, the symbol of earthly and of heavenly love, of both spiritual aspiration and of carnal desire, and is fittingly, therefore, the ruler of this sign. She is, above everything else, love, the creator of beauty and rhythm and unity. The bull and the cow together represent creation, and so Taurus and Venus are closely linked. The following is of interest, and this is a little excerpt from the Zodiac, A Life Epitome, page 24, Walter H. Sampson. The bull or cow is a symbol of this sign, and in the celestial chart, it will be observed that the little group of stars called the Pleiades are represented just at the shoulder of the bull. Now, in Egyptian scripture or painting, the Pleiades are sometimes represented by the figure of a dove with wings outspread over the bull's saddle. The dove, as we remember, is the bird sacred to Venus, and as the Pleiades are part of the constellation Taurus, and as we shall see, more Taurian in nature, if possible, than Taurus itself, the dove becomes a specially appropriate symbol for this little star group. Dude, I love this book. All right. The theme of sex. From this extract and many others, which could be adduced, A-D-D-U-C-E-D. We have to look it up. Adduced. A-D-D-U-C-E-D. Adduced. Sepulcher.
Sepulcher. Sepulcher.
Yeah, okay. Oh, dang it. Why didn't I take a better... I don't even remember what word I was going to look up. Oh, no. Oh, here it is. It's right. Okay. I'm right on the top of this page. Adduced. A-D-D-U-C-E-D. Oh. Adduce. Past tense. A number of factors are adduced to explain a situation.
Adduce.
Adduce. Skadoosh.
Adduce.
Adduced. Okay, all right. Number of factors are adduced to explain. Does it just mean add? To offer as example, reason, or proof in discussion or analysis. Adduce, evidence in support of a theory. Adduce. Okay. Back to YouTube's. Okay. Adduce. All right. The theme of sex. From this extract and many others which could be adduced, it is apparent how closely linked with sex and its lower and in its higher aspects is this important constellation of Taurus. This is why it has been called in some books the sign of generation, both earthly and heavenly. We have seen that the power of the sign Taurus is that of attraction or of bringing all together or bringing together. It exerts a steady and continuous pull, and in both the symbolical and the astronomical sense, it attracts. We have seen that in this sign are to be found the Pleiades, among them, oh no, I don't know how to say it, Al Alcyone, Alcyone, called the central sun of our universe. Oh Lord, okay, so let's look it up. Okay, I'm right in here. I see where you are. Alcyone. Alcyone. AYC ALCY. ALCYONE. Definition. The brightest star in the Pleiades. Okay, so okay, right. I actually need the pronunciation. Boom.
Alcyone.
Alcyone. Okay.
Alcyone.
Alcyone. Cool. Okay. Alcyone. We have seen that in this sign are to be found the Pleiades, among them Alcyone, called the central sun of our universe, and around it circles our sun, with its attendant planets. The words of Job, when he said, "Canst thou bind the sweet influences of Pleiades, or lose the band of Orion?" Bands of Orion? Thus becomes clear. The Pleiades are the symbol of the soul around which the wheel of life revolves. It is interesting to discover again in Taurus the triplicity which is so constantly recurrent in astronomical lore and in mythology. Taurus representing form and the attractive pull of matter, the Pleiades representing soul and the vast recurring cycle of experience, and among the seven Pleiades, the lost Pleiad, for only 6 are visible, a symbol of the obscuration of spirit, while soul, through desire, takes a body. Thus, the idea of the relation of the self and the non self, in order to produce the ultimate revelation of the spirit, underlies all mythological teaching and the scriptures and the symbol of all time. And thus, we have also the emergence of the idea of the great illusion and glamour. Spirit or God is lost or veiled and disappears in the attractiveness of the outer form and in the glamour which the soul attracts around itself. Ooh. Wow. I can't wait to listen back to this so that I can understand it even better. Code. I love you. It should be remembered here that the opposite sign to Taurus is that of Scorpio, and that these two signs constitute the field of a stupendous effort on the part of Hercules. For in one, he wrestles with the problem of sex, and in the other, he overcomes the great illusion. Significance of the constellations. The 3 constellations connected with this sign are Orion, Eridanus, and oh no, Auriga. All right, so we're going to look up how to pronounce these. I'm embarrassed. Okay. Okay, pronunciation. Okay, I know Orion's the only one I got down. Eridanus. Dude. Eridanus.
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 Eridanus. Okay. Awesome. Eridanus. So we've got Orion, Eridanus, Auriga, Eridanus, and then AU, RIGA, Eridanus, Eridanus.
Auriga.
Auriga. Cool. Auriga.
Auriga.
Auriga. Eridanus. Auriga.
Auriga.
Auriga. All right. Thank you. Awesome. Auriga. I like it. Okay, so the three constellations connected with this sign are Orion, Eridanus, and Auriga. Cool. And the nature of the work in Taurus is beautifully foretold by the three pictures in the heavens which they present to us. The ancient name of Orion was the Three Kings because of the three beautiful stars found in Orion's belt. The three kings represent the three divine aspects of will, love, and intelligence, and Orion, therefore, symbolizes the spirit. The name Orion literally means the breaking forth of light. Again and again, as we circle around the zodiac, we shall find appearing what might be called the spiritual prototype of Hercules. Perseus, the coming prince, who slew the Medusa, symbol of the great illusion, he is found in Aries. Orion, whose name means light, is found in Taurus. In Scorpio, Hercules himself, triumphant and victorious, appears. Then we have Sagittarius, the archer on the horse, going straight for his goal. And in Pisces, we find the king. The more closely we study this heavenly picture book, the more we realize that ever before us is held the symbol of our divinity, the symbol of our soul in incarnation, and the story of matter, as it receives purification and glorification through the laborious work of the soul. The second constellation connected with this sign is an immense river of stars, which streams forth from under the feet of Orion. It is called Eridanus, or the River of the Judge, and is a symbol of the river of life, carrying souls into incarnation, where they learn the meaning of the words, as a man sows, so shall he reap, and where they undertake the stupendous task of working out their own salvation. Just as Orion symbolizes the spirit aspect, so Eridanus concerns itself with the form-taking aspect and holds before us the thought of incarnation, whilst the third constellation, Auriga, is the charioteer, leading forth to new lands and so symbolizing the soul. Nature of the tests. The broad lesson to be learned in this sign is to achieve right understanding of the law of attraction and right use and control of matter. In this way, matter is raised up into heaven, figuratively speaking, and can enter upon its right function, which is to constitute a medium of expression and a field of endeavor for the indwelling Christ or soul. The aspirant, therefore, is tested in two ways. First, as to the caliber of his animal nature, and the motives underlying its utilization. Second, he is tested as to the attraction which the great illusion can exert over him. Maya, or the great illusion, and sex are but two aspects of the same force, that of attraction, one as it manifests on the physical plane, and the other as it expresses expresses itself in the field of the emotional desire nature. The disciple and sex. An aspirant to discipleship has in sex a real problem with which to contend. Self-indulgence and the control of the human being by any part of his organism are always inevitably wrong. When a man's entire mind is occupied with the thought of women, or vice versa, when he lives mainly to satisfy an animal craving, when he finds himself unable to resist the lure of his polar opposite, then he is a victim of and is controlled by the lower part of his nature, the animal. But when man recognizes his physical function as a divine heritage and his equipment as having been given him for the good of the group and to be rightly used for the benefit of the human family, then we shall see a new motivating impulse underlying human conduct where sex is concerned. We shall see the elimination of promiscuity with its attendant evil disease. We shall see the solution of the problem of too many children and, incidentally, easement of the economic problem. Through right control of sex function and its regulation to the purpose for which it exists, the carrying onward of the human family and the providing of bodies whereby souls can gain experience, then right use will be made of sex. Then passion, lust, self-gratification, disease, and overpopulation will die out in the world. Matter will no longer be prostituted to selfish desire, and the relation between the sexes will be governed by understanding of divine purpose and skill in action. Two points of view are equally wrong. In the one case, we have practices taught which lead eventually to sexual orgies. These have been dignified by the name of sex magic, and in the sexual orgasm, deliberately induced. A man is led to believe that the physical sex act is his highest point of spiritual opportunity, and that at such a moment he can touch, if he will, the kingdom of heaven. The other attitude, which makes marriage and all expression of the sex life a sin for the disciple, and which says that a man cannot be pure in the truly spiritual aspect if he marries and raises a family, is as devastatingly dangerous. There is no state of consciousness and no condition of life in which it is impossible for a man to function as a son of God. Ha ha ha, what a great sentence. Actually, let me just read it again because it's awesome. There is no state of consciousness and no condition of life in which it is impossible for a man to function as a son of God. If it is not possible for a man to live the life of discipleship and the life of initiation, and with due self-control and understanding, live a normal, balanced sex life, then there is a department of human expression in which divinity is helpless, and this I refuse to recognize. There is no department of life, no field of expression, no meaning of obligation, no use of the physical apparatus, in which the soul cannot fulfill the part of the dominating factor, and all things be done truly to the glory of God. But the soul must control, and not the lower nature. People forget that some of the strongest of the world initiates married, that the Buddha married and had a son, and must have been an initiate of high degree when he entered into the married state. See, right? Like, that gives me hope. Like, it's like, yeah, moderation, moderation. We're the ones who say. Okay. They forget that Moses, David the psalmist, oops, and many of the outstanding figures in the world of mysticism in both hemispheres were married and raised families. Disciples belong to all races, both in the Occident and in the Orient. Oh no. Oh, we're gonna look it up. Okay, so Occident, Occident. Occident? The unfortunate and unfortunate. No, not accident. Occident.
Occident.
Occident. The countries of the West, especially Europe and America. I'm such an idiot. I've never heard that word before.
Occident.
Or rather, I actually think I read it once out loud.
Occident.
Occident. The countries of the West, especially Europe and America. Okay. I love you too, dude. Now, where is that Occident word? There it is. Okay. Okay. Disciples belong to all races, both in the Occident and the Orient, and the attitude of different races towards sex is widely diversified. Standards of conduct differ. The legality or the illegality of relations varies. Different epochs and different civilizations have seen relationships that were legal at one time and illegal at another. Some races are monogamous and some races are polygamous. In some civilizations, the woman is regarded as the dominant factor, and in others, the man. Down the ages, sex perverts, homosexuals, true and spurious, have been with us, and today is probably no worse than 5,000 years ago, except that everything is now dragged out into the light, which is good. Everybody talks about the problem, and the rising generation are asking in no uncertain tones, what about sex? What is right and what is wrong? How can they be expected to deal with a question which has been discussed seemingly in the most futile manner down the ages? I mean, what is she saying? I'm not exactly sure. Her tone sort of offended me for a second there, but maybe I'm the one who, right. Here, it is pertinent to note that Minos, king of Crete, who owned the sacred bull, also possessed the maze in which the Minotaur lived, and the maze has ever been the symbol of the great illusion. The word maze comes from an Old English word meaning to bewilder, to confuse, to puzzle. The island of Crete, with its maze and its bull, is an outstanding symbol of the great illusion. It was separated from the mainland, and illusion and bewilderment are characteristics of the separated self, but not of the soul on its own plane, where group realities and universal truths constitute its kingdom. The bull, to Hercules, typified animal desire, and the many aspects of desire in the world of form which, in their totality, constitute the great illusion. The disciple, like Hercules, is a separated unit, divided from the mainland, the symbol of the group, by the world of illusion and the maze in which he lives. The bull of desire has to be caught and mastered and chased from one point to another in the life of the separated self, until the time comes when the aspirant can do what Hercules succeeded in doing, ride the bull. To ride the animal in the ancient myths signifies control. The bull is not slaughtered, it is ridden and guided, and under the mastery of the man. There are potencies and faculties hidden in the human being that, when developed and unfolded, may bring new powers to bear upon this problem. But in the meantime, what shall the aspirant do? Certain suggestions may be made. 1. Ride, control and master the bull, and let the aspirant remember that the bull has to be ridden across the waters to the mainland, which means that the solution of the whole sex problem will come with the disciple subordinates will come when the disciple subordinates his separated personal island self to group purpose and endeavor, and begins to rule his life by the question, what is best for the group with which I am associated? It is by doing this that the bull is ridden to the mainland. 2. Use common sense. The ancient meaning of the word common sense, which was that there was a sense which synthesized and unified the five senses, and so constituted a common sense. Dude, that's awesome! Literally, the mind. That is great. Let the aspirant use his mind and, through the medium of intelligent perception, guide and control the bull of desire. If common sense is used, certain dangers will be avoided. There is a danger in the method of many aspirants in inhibiting or shutting off all sex expression. Physiologically, they may succeed, but the experience of psychologists and teachers is that where inhibition and a drastic suppression is imposed upon the organism, the result is some form of nervous or mental complex. Many physically clean people have unclean minds. Many who would scorn the practice of any of the sex perversions and who hold that marriage is not for the disciple have mental apparatuses which will not bear investigation. Their minds and their interpretations of other people's actions are so salacious and their capacity to think evil so great that, dangerous as this may sound, one feels that it would be better for them to be ridden by the bull of desire than to continue their present practice of substituting mental indulgence for outer sin. A clean mind and a pure heart, a rightly organized and rightly used physical body, conformity to the laws of the land in which his desire is cast, utter consideration for the welfare of those with whom he is associated, and a life of loving service. These constitute the ideals of the aspirant. I like this. 3. A right understanding of the meaning of celibacy. The word means single, and the meaning usually given to the word is to refrain from the marriage relation. Excuse me. Many young men and women, driven by spiritual desire and under the influence of the thought form of the church during the Middle Ages, with its many monasteries and covenants or convents, believe that for them the celibate state is essential and right, and are puzzled when they find that complexes result. What? I don't understand that sentence. Okay. Many young men and women, driven by spiritual desire and under the influence of the thought form of the church during the Middle Ages, with its many monasteries and convents, believe that for them the celibate state is essential and right, and are puzzled when they find that complexes result. Complexes result. I don't know. I mean, I guess I understand what they're saying, but I don't know. But may it not be that the true celibacy has been expressed for us in the words of Christ when he said, if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Oh, wait, that's a question. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. May not it be that true celibacy is the refusal of the soul any longer to identify itself with the form? May not the real marriage relation, of which the physical plane relation is but the symbol, be that of the union of the soul and the form, the positive spirit aspect and the negative mother matter? Let the soul be single in its purpose and freed from the thraldom of matter, and then right action and the right point of view will inevitably be the characteristics of the physical plane life. Let the soul ride the form, controlling and mastering it, and then it will surely know its right obligations. It will recognize the relation that it should hold to other human beings, whether its destiny is to be that of husband or wife, father or mother, brother or sister, friend or companion. Through right use of the form and right understanding of purpose, through right orientation to reality and right use of spiritual energy, the soul will act as a controlling factor and the whole body will be full of light. Through control, through the use of common sense, by the right understanding of celibacy, and the identification with group purpose, the disciple will arrive at liberation from the control of sex. He will succeed in following the example of Hercules and will ride the bull of desire over the mainland where, in the temple of God, he will hand it over into the care of the Cyclops who were early initiates, having the single eye about which we have been speaking, the eye of Shiva, the bull's eye in the constellation Taurus. For Hercules himself was not only the disciple, but he was, in his lower nature, the bull, and in his higher nature, the Cyclops. When the bull of desire has been handed over to the Cyclops, to the initiate with the single eye, which is himself, the soul, the three divine aspects, will begin to manifest. Brontes, Serapes, and Arges will guard the sacred bull, and Hercules, the disciple, will no longer have any responsibility. Brontes is a symbol of the first aspect of God, the Father who spoke and is the creative sound. Serapes means lightning or light, and is the second aspect, the soul. Arges means whirling activity, the third aspect of divinity, expressing itself in the intense activity of physical plane life. These divine aspects constitute the controlling factor, and once they have gained possession of the sacred bull, the problem of Hercules is solved. Keynotes of Taurus. Let struggle be undismayed from the aspect. I see, and when the eye is opened, all is light. The soul aspect from Esoteric Astrology, page 403. Dang. You know, I really wanted to read 3 labors today. And it's already getting to be almost 8 right now. I don't know if I'm going to get into this next 3rd labor. I don't think I am. I think I'm going to call it. Because I want to talk with Chrissy, and also Jackie and Josh might be going live tonight and invited me to go on panel with them. I don't know if I'll go on panel, but I'll at least come and hang out for a while. But that might be 8 or 9 o'clock. So yeah, dang, the Labours of Hercules, y'alls. Alice A. Bailey. I have another book from her that I haven't even taken the plastic off of yet. I'm pretty excited about it, but oh my gosh. Desert Rose, yay! I love you. So, Chrissy, my girl, I'm going to text you here in a minute. And, man, thanks for being with me here tonight, y'alls. I love you. And I probably should make myself read this 3rd one, but I'm not going to. I'm going to call it. So thank you again. And, I'll see you soon. I'll probably stream tomorrow too. I want to keep it going. I had a wild week, you know? So I just, I'm getting back into it. Thank you very much. Mwah! I shall see you on the next one, whenever that is.